Hi everyone, thank you for joining in today. So our session today will be about the Azure Bot Service, and we'll be having Shashinda talk about how to build your own bot using conversational AI. Before I get started, just a reminder on the code of conduct: be aware of others, be friendly, and always be kind on the chat and considerate. Before I begin the session, first of all, you can share where you're joining us from. And two key things is today's session is based on a LEARN module, and the LEARN module is build a bot with Azure Language Service and Azure Bot Service. You can get the LEARN module on the link that I've just pasted on the chat. Secondly, is we are also having a cloud skills challenge running with the session that we are having. So it also ensures that you are enrolled on the cloud skills challenge and you're also learning along with us. Okay, so the cloud skills challenge, let me also paste the link on the chat so that you will be able to follow along. Otherwise, I'll hand it over to Shashinda to continue with the session. So over to you, Shashinda.
Hi everyone. I'm Shashidhar. I'm a master student and a Gold Microsoft Learn Student Ambassador. And today we'll be learning about how we are going to build a bot using Azure Bot Service and the language service. So you might be hearing a lot of things about bots these days, especially the ChatGPT. It's just like a bot, but it's a more advanced version of a bot. But to get into building bots, you need to have the basics. And building a bot with Azure is like one of the simplest things you could, and the simplest bot you could ever do. So you don't need to have the knowledge of coding. You don't need to have the knowledge of uh, like Python or some other language. It's very easy. So you just need to have a Azure account and you can build a bot. So today's session will be on that. And this is a learn module which we are going to go through it, build a bot with the language service and the Azure bot service. And today's session will be live and interactive, as she has already mentioned that you can ask your questions in the stream and we will be answering them while we are going through the stream. You can ask anything related to the doubts if you have anything while we are going through the session, or if you have other doubts related to chatbots, you can put them in the chat and we will be taking those questions and we'll be answering them in between the session. So I'm hoping that we are going to get some good questions from you, and always happy to answer them. Some of the prerequisites is like you should know how to at least access the Azure portal. It's very simple. It's not like very complicated, but it's very basic prerequisite that you should be able to navigate through Azure portal and know like which thing is at which part, like where is a language service, where are the resources, where do you create something, or where do you delete a resource group, and where do you uh, like access the language service and all. So we will be going through it, but that's like the prerequisites of this today's session. We don't have much of major prerequisites as such, like uh, you need to know some language or something, so nothing much. Coming to the learning objective, so what you get from this at the end of this session, like you might be asking, okay, I attended this session, and what is that I gain at the end of the session? So you're gonna know like you'll be completing this module, which is called a builder module with learning language service and Azure Bot Service, and you'll be able to create a knowledge base. I'll tell you what knowledge base is in a while, and you will be able to create one Azure chatbot, which will be deployed on your knowledge base. Like it will be able to answer the questions the way you have created the knowledge base. So you will basically have one chatbot which you can deploy it on your, I don't know, if you have a website, you can deploy it on that. If you have some company keys, some etc., then you can deploy it there. Or even if you have Like if you want a bot for your teams or some other service where you want an automatic reply, you can just deploy it there. So it's a basic service which can be created using Azure, and it will answer based upon the way you have given it for a particular question and your answer. So you will be like having that in your service. So today's agenda, if we go through, we are done with the introduction, like what are we are doing, like what is chatbot, what are we gonna do today, what is language service. We'll introduce one by one everything. Some of these things are done, and we are gonna see some more. Like we are gonna open through the portal, and second thing is like getting started with the language service and Azure Bot Service. Then we'll go through an exercise. So basically today there'll be a demo. I'll show you like how do we create Azure chatbot from the basics, from scratch, like from nothing to a chatbot, which also includes creation of knowledge base, creation of bot, and then we deploy it, and we also test it, web testing, which is nothing but on the Azure portal. We do that. After that, we'll have a knowledge check. We have the three questions, I guess, and it's just like to know like how much you have understood the concept, how much you have understood the session. So we'll have a final knowledge check, and then we just summarize it at the end of the session, whatever we have discussed during this session. I hope it'll be a good session and you people enjoy it. And I promise you that it's an interesting thing and it's not gonna be very difficult at all. And don't worry about any prerequisites or nothing because it's gonna be easy and you'll have a chatbot at the end of the session. Coming to the introduction, so basically, introduction is uh, so these days, as I mentioned, chatbots usage has increased a lot. So you might be thinking, why do we need the session or where the chatbots are used? If also if someone might have a question on what chatbots are exactly. So chatbots are nothing but the ones which reply to your mails or messages automatically. Like you don't need to open the message, you don't need to reply. If you know, like you might be using mails, you might be using messages, so there will be many of the automated replies. Even for many of the companies, there are automated replies. If you go to any service, hotels or flights or anything, they have a assistant. At the bottom of the screen, they have a virtual assistant, which is nothing but a chatbot, which will be answering based upon your questions. So these questions are like commonly asked questions. These are most generic questions that are collected, and those are used to create a knowledge base, which is used to create a chatbot, and then which is deployed in their website, which can be used by any user. So based on your input, the chatbot is then checked with the knowledge base. So the question which is most similar to your question will be taken, and the answer to that which was already there in that knowledge base will be given as the output by the chatbot. So you have automated mails, you have automated chats, you have service bots, you have customer support bots. These are all chatbots. So basically it's like they are all already fixed. For this question this answer, for this question these answers. So the interface is nothing but they're on web app, and their web app is taken and deployed it into a website. So that's what like basically chatbot is. And today we'll be seeing like how we can build that. And there are different types of chatbots. Like if you see Chat GPT or something like those are more advanced chatbots. They're not exactly chatbots, but they're more large language models. So those don't come into these kind of chatbots. What we are gonna build is like basic chatbots where we train it on given a question, what is the answer? Given a question, what is the answer? So or understand the question and take the closest question and give the answer based on it. So that's what we are gonna do today. So there are different kinds, as I said. There are also translation bots where you give some sentence or word in certain language and you can get it in different language. So as I said, like you have different bots for different services and you can use it based on your requirement. You can even do a fun chatbot where it will tell you jokes. I've seen people create like humor ones where you just ask the chatbot to give a joke and it will tell you a joke. So it depends. There are different multiple services and multiple usages, and based on your requirement, you can build them. It's simple, but you just have to know the knowledge base. People use a variety of technologies to communicate, as I said, like voice calls, messaging service, online chat applications, email, social media platform, collaborative workplace tools like Teams. So these are all like everything is a technology and we use it every now and then, every day. So we need to have something which can be automated because automation has become such a big part of everyone's life and this world as well. So making some of the things automated will make many a thing simpler. So chatbots give us that power to automate the things and help us build. I mean, help us reply to people in easier manner, and also at least give a reply to someone when we are out. If for suppose if some employee is out of the office, so you get an automated email like they are out of office or something. That is automated mail. But if you want something like similarly in the Teams or somewhere, you can build a bot. When someone says hi, you in your group or something, you can put a automated chatbot where you say hi, welcome to the group. So it makes life simpler and things also simpler. So that's the introduction, basic introduction and all. Conversational AI, while many organizations publish support information and answers. So you might be knowing like every company or every website mostly has FAQs at the end of their website where frequently asked questions are there. So these are like most generic questions where more or most of the people have doubts. So these can be taken and can be used as a knowledge base for the chatbot and can be trained so that you have one chatbot and not have a FAQ, which would be a little more like you have to search for your question when you are going through FAQ. But if you go to a chatbot, you can just type your question, and the question which is most similar to that will be considered. So it makes things easier, and also and that's a good use of technology, is what I feel. The example shown here in the chat interface, such as you might find on the website, you can see an example here. Hi, I'm RTM support bot. How can I help you? So this is what the bot says, and then I have a question about my bill. Okay, what's your account number? An account number that I found your details. So this is also a bot, but it's a little more like has more data. It has bills amount. It has your login details, and based on login details, it can be changed. It's like so once you build this basic bot, you can change the code. I mean the source code, and you can manipulate it in such a way that it works according to the other needs. Like you might want some other login at the back end, or you want more information to go into the bot, so you can also do that. So this is an example for that. But whatever I have explained till now is more simpler than this. So this is more little more advanced level of the path. So getting started with the language service and Azure Bot Service. Uh, you can easily create an Azure support bot solution and Azure using a combination of two core services. As we have been discussing, like there are two services which we'll be using for this. One is language service, which is available on Azure itself, and one more is the Azure Bot Service, which is used to deploy the bot. So basically, after building the knowledge piece, after building the language service, you have to deploy the bot so you can use it on a web app. So what are these services exactly are? So language service, the language service includes a custom question answering feature that enables you to create knowledge base of question and answering pairs that can be queried using natural language input. The question answering capability in the language service is a newer version of the Q&A maker, which is still available as a separate service. So the thing is what is this language service? It's like for the bot to have a question and answer, we need to first tell it for which question, which answer, which question, which answer. So we have this language service which also helps the bot to find the nearest question, not the exact question. At times, some people might ask, book a flight. Some other might ask, I want to book a flight. And if someone else asks, uh, you might change the question in such a way that it has a book a flight or it has something called book. So we need to build something which can find something similar to that and not exactly that, because we can't hard core I mean, you can't write all the questions which each person asks, where different persons might ask in a different manner, so you can't keep adding those things to again and again. So language service helps us in such a way that we can keep one question, and when we deploy the bot, it can find the nearest matching question. I mean, in the meaning, I mean, when the meaning is the same. So you might have different persons asking the same question in different styles, but it still matches that to your question. So that will be helpful a lot. So it helps with natural language input, and we can use this for making things simpler. So in that way, language service is helpful. Coming to, and also while we are working with language service, we create the knowledge base where we edit and import the data using URLs, using Excel sheets, using FAQs. So this is all done in the language service itself. So the language service is very important for the Azure Bot Service. And next, coming to the Azure Bot Service, this service provides a framework for developing, publishing, and managing bots. So once we have created a bot in the language service, we just have a bot. We don't have it the web API or web app which can be used in our websites or something. For that to happen, we need Azure Bot Service. The Azure Bot Service is connected to the language service. So once we have the knowledge base and the language service, we can deploy it on an Azure using Azure Bot Service, which helps us to have a Azure Bot on the web app. So that's where the Azure Bot comes into place. And while we deploy it on some website or something, we want to monitor it. We want to keep updating it, and we want to manage the bot and all. So all this can be done using Azure Bot Service. So that's where this Azure Bot Service comes into picture, and you can do all these things using this service. But the language service is only for the creation. When it comes to managing and publishing and developing, you need Azure Bot Service. So these two services will be used today, and we'll see, like, we have a demo at the end of the session where we'll be building a bot. So there I'll show you like where Azure Bot Service comes into picture and why language service is useful. So the question answering capability in the language service is a newer version of Q&A maker service, which is still available as separate service. So like if you wanna go through it, you can still go through it, but it's a separate service for now. Creating a custom question answering knowledge base. The first challenge is like creating user support bodies to use a language service to create a knowledge base. As I have been discussing and stressing a lot on this thing called knowledge base. So the first thing we need to have is a knowledge base. The first challenge in creating a user support bot is to use the language service to create a knowledge base. So this knowledge base is exactly as I've told before, where you have a question and answer or a question and multiple answer you can have, or at times you can even have a question, and for that question you have an answer, and then you have a prompt for that answer. Like after this answer, you can give a prompt, giving a suggestion to the user. This might be your next question. So depending on the requirement, you can change the knowledge base. One question, multiple answers can be done, and one question, one answers can be done, and multiple answers or multiple things can be linked using the knowledge base. And your knowledge base can be of different types. It need not be in particular one format. There are multiple formats which you can use. There is Excel, there is Word, and there is FAQs as we have discussed. There is also like a database you can connect it directly. So we'll see. Like I'll give you a link where you can access it. Like in which in which format, how what is exact format we need to have for a chatbot. For suppose Excel need to have certain format for the bot to understand. This is a question. This is the answer. And if you're working with Word file, you need to have certain format. Like after a question, you need to get an answer, then a question, then an answer. So there are different formats, and you can go through the documentation. There's a documentation whole page where you have the resources like for which format you need to have what is the exact thing. Also, that you can write the code to create and manage knowledge bases using language service APIs or a software development kit. However, in most scenarios, it is easier to use the language studio. So, yeah, as I said, like based on the resources, you can change the bots. You don't need to have one particular way of creating a bot. So, different services need different kinds of bots. So, based on it, some might need to add some more functionalities to the chatbot. So if you want more functionalities, you have the option of writing the code and then managing the bot, changing it according to your resources. If you are good with APIs and software development kit, you can experiment with them and uh, make changes to the bot and make it work according to your need. So that will also be interesting. And you have the advantage of using multiple things on language service. So that's most useful service like when we are working with the knowledge bases. Coming to provisioning a language service Azure resource. To create a knowledge base, you must first provision a language service resource in your Azure subscription. So as I said, like other prerequisite which I haven't mentioned is like you need to have an Azure account. So you can just create an Azure account, and if you are working with some advanced bot and if you want to deploy it, you can also get 200 credits for the first time. And if you're a student, you'll get 200 credits as for a student account. So you can use those $200 credit. And once you have the Azure subscription, so there are things called resources when it comes to Azure. So while you're working with the resources, the you need to create this like the language service resource in your Azure subscription. So this is one of the first basic thing you need to have in your Azure account for you to build a bot. So this is one basic thing which you need to have. This is the first thing you need to create also. We'll see in the later time. And after you have created the language service resource, so you have signed into your Azure account. If you did not have one, you have created one and you get your 200 credits and all. Don't worry if don't have the credits, also you can still build a bot. It's not necessary. You can build a free service one. And the thing is like once you have created the Azure account and you went to the resources, you clicked on the language service resources, or you can search for language service resources and then you go to the create button and you'll get to create a language service resource. So once you have created the resource, you can go to the language studio which is like the other website. It will take you to the other website, and you need to go to them and select question answering feature. So there'll be a question answering feature. Once you go to language.azure. I guess com, we can use plus symbol there and create a custom question answering feature. This will take us to the knowledge base, which will allow us to create a knowledge base. I mean, so it consists of question answering pairs. Once we select the option of question answering in the language studio, we are able to we are taken into a page where we can import our data and create a knowledge base which consists of Q&A pairs. So that's how it works. You go to Azure, then language service resource you create, then you open the language studio, then you select question answering. So once you get the question answering, you'll be taken to the knowledge base where you can import your data, which consists of Q&A pairs. So that's how the flow is till now, and what we'll see what happens next. Like generated from an so what is your head office location? This is one of the question which you might have in your knowledge base or something. So generated from an uh you might be thinking like, where do I get the knowledge base? So as I said, like you can either create it on your own on an Excel sheet, or you can write it on a Word. And an example can be generated from an existing FAQ document or web page. So you can just scrape from any website as well, like the FAQs, whatever is there, and put it into a Word document and just give it as a knowledge base to the what do you call language studio. And you can also enter it if you want. For suppose you have added some FAQs, but then you want to add more than which are not in the Word document. You do not want to know. I mean, you do not want to go back. You can just edit it here itself. You can add more questions, or you can add multiple answers to the same questions, or you can add like more details. As I said, you can even add prompts to it. So you can do editing part after you have imported your knowledge base. So that can be done here as well. And once you have taken the knowledge base, you can do the testing there itself. So after, as I said, like once you can edit uh, the question and answers after you have imported it. But main thing you need to remember once you have changed something or edited something is like you must save it first before deploying it. Else those changes won't be taken into consideration. So after creating a set of question and answer pairs, you must save it. There's a save button over there once you have edited the things, and you can just click on it and it'll be saved in like couple of seconds or so. So that is one of the main thing. And uh, coming to the testing part, you can test it over there in the language studio itself. You don't need to deploy it and test. Once you can test and then deploy it, which is more useful and which is how it has to be done. There's also a button which is for the testing purpose, and once you click on it, you'll be given a chat, and you can type some of the questions which are there in your knowledge base and check if your chatbot is able to answer according to the knowledge base. And that's how you test it. And when you're satisfied with your knowledge base, you deploy it. So that as I said, like you have taken the imported data, and you have used the knowledge base. You have imported your data into the knowledge base. Once you have imported, you get your question answering pairs using the language studio. And you wanted to add some more questions, you added using the edit option which is available on the language studio. And once you have edited, you need to save it. So that's the main thing, you need to save it, which you did. And you have tested your app and it works beautifully, and your chatbot is ready to run. So what next is nothing but you need to deploy it. So there's also an option called deploy. Once you are ready with your chatbot, you need to deploy it, and you can click on it. Then it'll be like deployed. It takes some time, but it will deploy. Build a bot with Azure. After you have created and deployed a knowledge base, you can deliver it to users through a bot. As I said, like it is available as a web app. Once you are deployed it using the Azure Bot Service, you can manage it, you can deploy it, you can provision it through the service. You can create a custom bot by using the Microsoft Bot Framework SDK to write code that controls conversational flow and integrate with your knowledge base. So as I said, like you have the option always. Azure only has the basic bot service. You can change it according to your need. I mean, if you are good at coding, if you are good at APIs, if you're good at these SDKs and all, you can definitely go through it and you can definitely download the code and then make changes to it and also connect it to your knowledge base if you are not interested in connecting to this knowledge base and then multiple knowledge base at times as well and then work accordingly. So you can create a custom bot by using the Microsoft Bot Framework SDK to write code that controls conversational flow and integrates with your knowledge base. As you said, extend and configure the bot. After creating your bot, you can manage it in the Azure portal where you can extend the bot functionality by adding custom code, which I discussed just now, and test the bot in an interactive test interface, which we will do at the end of the session. Like once we have created our bot, I can show you like a web app of it where we test the bot and configure loggings, analytics, integration with other services. Like you will be having all these services available to you in one of the simplest manner in the Azure portal where you'll configure the loggings and analytics. You'll see what is analysis of the chatbot which is deployed on your website and how many people are using it and what is the service of it. All these things can be like taken care of using Azure portal. You don't need to put a separate person or you don't need to write separate code for it and connect channels. When your bot is ready to be delivered to users, you can connect it to multiple channels, making it possible for users to interact with it through web chat, email, Microsoft Teams. And this we have discussed at the start of the session itself. Like you can deploy it anywhere. So I guess we are done with we have discussed what chatbot is, what uh, Azure bot service, what language service. Now let's do one thing. Let's build one bot. I'll show you how simple it is to build a bot using Azure's chatbot. Uh, just a second. So if you go here, okay, yeah, stop sharing. Mm, okay, so we have a learn module which you can use to follow the steps as well. I'll give you the link at the end of the session. And so this is like basically the first page you get once you get into Azure portal. So what you need to do is first thing as we discussed we need is a language resource. So you can go here, create a resource, or you can even search here language, and you'll be taken into language service. I already have a service. I mean, I already have a resource, but now we'll create a new resource. So once you click on this, you'll be taken here, and you'll be asked what is the kind of language service you need. So you have different services here. For now, for this thing, we are using question answering. So just click on this. You'll get a tick here and continue to create your resource. So you can create a new resource group or you can use an existing resource group. For now, I'll use okay, let's create a new resource group. Let's call it MS. So that's a new resource group. and you have to give a certain name. And for this, for suppose XYZ, you can give it as a already in use. One, two, three. And you need to select a pricing tier of this 1K calls per minute. You need to give a unique name. So make sure you give a unique name. And these things are basic things. It's just like some of basic things which you need to put. So there's nothing much to think of. Just create a new resource group, give a name, and select a pricing tier where S, which is nothing but standard. And here as well, you should go for standard. And then if you want, you can change the other things like other pages as well, identity tags. And once everything is done, we go for validation, and the validation is passed. We click on create. So our deployment is in progress. It will take some time, like the deployment process. So this is where you have the knowledge base. I mean, whatever we are doing, it's all written over here. You can even like take this as a reference. Step by step things are written. So if you see, we have gone to the Azure portal, create resource, select for search for language, and we have created the language service. And you can use this if you are not sure which one to use. You can use based upon this and then create it. So once it's created, we'll go to the language. This is where we build our knowledge base. So we have the cognitive service and search services already created. If we do want, we can go to our language
In the
studio.
meantime, as we wait for deployment, there's some
Yeah.
questions on the chat. Have you been able to answer any of them?
Okay,
So
I did
there's
not check
one.
the question.
Just go back to it. Yeah. Let me just ask you from the chat. There's a question by Sei is asking, can the Azure Bot service be integrated with OpenAI or a wiki like URL where it can decide the response to a question if the answer has not been pre-programmed? Like you can upload like an entire document and it gives you replies, or integrating it with the Azure OpenAI service.
And Azure are integrated with OpenAI or wiki like URL where it can decide the responsible main pre-program. For now, I haven't tested OpenAI's because OpenAI is not available as such for to everyone. I mean, it's there, but OpenAI is still in beta version and not the access is not given to the. I mean, the OpenAI service which is available on Azure is still in like if you have a company only then it's available to those people who are working and you need to put a request. So I haven't tested it as such, but I would definitely like answer it or would be able to tell it once the service is available to everyone.
Yeah, I haven't tried to integrate it with Azure Bot Service, but with Azure OpenAI, it can give you it can technically give you responses to different prompts, so you might not even need a knowledge base while you're using it. So I think it can give you a response without using it probably as a knowledge base. I'm not sure, but I'll probably go and explore more on that. And then
Yeah,
there's another.
I guess I mean you can use OpenAI service where, but the thing is like for most of the things. services these companies deploy, they have particular answers for particular questions. So I don't think
Yeah,
chatbot will be useful for that, right? Because it is more generic answers.
yeah, true, true. So
So
probably trying to use a service on your own knowledge base.
yeah,
Yeah, that's something we might have to explore a bit. And then, yeah, once we dig deep into it, we can give a better response. But yeah, I'll have you continue then ask the other questions afterwards.
yeah. So this is deployed, and once this is deployed, we can use it. And go to the language Azure. So this is the language studio. You can just sign in, and you'll be taken to this page at the start of the after you have signed in. You can just select whatever. I have an Azure directory of this, so I just select these things, some basic things. You don't need to select, most of the things are already there. So I'm just showing it here, and the resource, the one which I've created just now is XYC123. So this resource is available here. So the ones which we have created here, that's available here, and we need to select that resource itself. So I have created that, and done. So once that is done, so you'll have an option called create new here. So you can see like create new, and what we discuss and what we want to build for now is question answering. So let's click on custom question answering, and you can click on I want to select the language when I created the project in this resource. So this is the option you need to select, or you can select if you want to explore more, you can do this. So but this is like the basic thing you need to do. Once you do next, you need to select the project name, and project name is like chat bot 18, and select English. You can give a default answer. So for suppose I'm not sure, but I'm not aware of this question. You can put any other thing, answer not found or some other thing, or you can, whenever the answer is not found in your knowledge base. Next, and then you got your review loading project. So once this is done, this is where you will import your knowledge base. So you have an option called add sources. So you have different types. You can use URL. So if you want someone asks about wiki URL and all, you can use URLs. Files you can use the chat. For today's session, we are gonna use URLs, and the URL is like taken from this. Okay. So you have an option called add URL here, and you need to paste your URL here and give a certain name. Suppose GitHub, not GitHub, flight. And you put it this thing as auto detect. So once you add your URL, you can just add all. The resources are being added. Yeah. So your resources are added. So once that is done, you'll get a clear green tick here, and then you can go to the resource and see what we have in the resource exactly. So here we can see these are the things that are imported. So this is one question. Why mortgage travel? What services do you provide? What destinations do you offer? And how can I book a flight? So this is a question and this is your answer. If you're not happy with your answer, you have a button. You can click on edit answer and you can change it accordingly. Updated this answer. So once you're done with that, see, as I said, like main thing you need to remember is after you have made changes, you have unsaved changes, click on save changes. So you need to go here and click on save. It's changing, I mean, it's saving the changes. The same changes are saved. And also, we have discussed about adding more questions. So if you want, you can go here, type a question, how are you? And type a question and a type answer. Then still unsave changes, save my changes. So you can see now changes are saved. So you have your question which you have entered just now. How are you? I'm fine. And these are the other questions which are taken from the URL. So which is nothing but basically a Word file. If you want, you can just go download it and check. If you need to test your bot here now. So let's test our bot. Let's check with book a flight. You can see like I did not give the exact question. I just gave book a flight, and you still got your answer. Like our agents can help you book a flight. Let's see how I find is there a hotel travel insurance. So you can see like you don't need to give the exact question which is here. Can you arrange travel insurance? I've given travel insurance, I have insurance, so I've got the same answer. So that's how Language Studio helps. Like you need to give the nearest question. You don't need to give the exact question. And if you even want, you can do follow-up prompts. For suppose, book a flight and a follow-up prompt. Okay, hotel. Uh, So you have this thing, add prompt, save changes. The changes are saved. Go here, book a flight. So after you do book a flight, it gives you an answer. It also suggests like the next question might be book a hotel. So you can click on book a hotel and then just you'll get like this. You don't need to enter the question. So that's your prompts command. So you can edit the questions, you can just import the questions and you can add follow-up prompts. All this can be done here. So we have tested it. Then the last step is like deploying it. So yeah, once this is deployed, you'll get a something like this, and you have an option called create a bot here. So we are going to the Azure Bot Service now from the Language Studio. So this is the custom deployment. Please select the resource group which you have created just now. I guess I've created MS, and Mm, the rest of the things are basically the same. Create new user, change plan. Nothing. It's the same. You can go to web app and click on create new plan app service plan. Based upon your need, you can change C hash or node.js, and some name will be given to your bot already. And for the resource key, here you'll be asked for the language resource key. This is nothing but you go to the language services which we have created this now at the start into the resource group. So you have XYZ123. Click on XYZ123 language service resource. On the left side, you have keys and endpoints, and you have the keys here. So it's like copy one of the keys, any key from this, go back and then paste your key here and leave the other things as it is. Just create. So validation is passed, and I guess we are initializing the deployment. We can take the final questions if there are any, while this is initializing the deployment. Deployment is in progress.
As we wait for this deployment, maybe I'll also ask another question from the chat. This is from Tilotama, and they're asking whether a knowledge base can be created by different input modes. So, can you use text and audio for like a knowledge base, or have a mix of the two?
It's audio or hybrid. Language based, you can take the input from different resources, but you have to like take it of the similar type when you are working with chatbots for now. If you're working with question answering, it wants the questions to be of like text format. So it has to be of different, it can be of different resources, but not of the different types. Like we cannot give an audio and what do you call audio or some other input type.
Text.
Yeah. So
Okay, so yeah, so maybe I can comment for audio. You can use the Azure speech to text to translate in
yeah,
case someone wants to use audio to ask a question. You can add another resource on top to like convert it to text, and then you can also convert the answer to speech. I think
speech.
that would simplify it, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Go on.
Yes, the deployment. Okay, the deployment is complete, and we can go to the resource group once it is complete. So you can just refresh this. I should have a bot here. We don't see it. Okay. So you have Azure Bot here. So the type is like Azure Bot. You can just go here. This is your bot which is created. The other things are like the resources. And this is where you can, as I said, you can take care of monitoring like metrics, alerts, analytics, diagnostics, logs, and all. And if you want to test it on web app, click on test on web app and you wait for like a couple of minutes. So you get hello and welcome. You say, "How are you?" So this was the answer which was given on there. And you can also like book a flight. So you get the answer. And this was a prompt which we have given, like book a hotel. So you can click on it and then you get this. We can also try some other things which is not in the chatbot. So tell me about Microsoft. I'm not aware of this question, which was a question which was like the default which we have given it. So this is like the web app which you can just take and deploy it on your website. If you want, you can see the logs and diagnostic settings, metrics. You can put some alerts as well if you want. So you have all the options here. So this is like how you create the chatbot, and we have created one chatbot from basic, so without any knowledge today. Coming to the knowledge check, like we have come to like
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
end of the session. So
So we
your
still have
organization, sorry,
we still have two questions. We still have two more questions on
okay,
the chat. I think we can go to the questions first, and then if we still have time for the knowledge check, we can go to the knowledge check. But the first question is, what's the difference between question answering and the Azure bot?
question answering and the Azure bot. I don't exactly get the question.
What technically, I'm also not sure, but probably you can give a description of what is a Q&A, what that stands for, like
Okay, so
the
Q&A is like basically you have a question and an answer. The additional thing which you have in Azure bot is like you don't need to give the exact question which is needed for a question. So for some questions, you are like it needs to be word to word exact thing. So that is not there when it comes to Azure Bot Service. And you also have an option of changing things. You can basically take resources from multiple sites and you have a different services. Once you explore it, you can change the languages as well, and it's easy to deploy. But when it comes to question answering, the question needs to be exact, and you need to write multiple same question and same answers for it. So that's what I am guessing your question is about. So that would be the difference if you want to me to answer like what is question answering and difference between them.
Yeah, I think that's also the answer. That's what the question was asking. I hope we've answered the question, Merrick. And then the last question from Atul is asking, how exactly does AI work in this case if the bot is referring to the knowledge base for all the question? So for example, I think you answered this in your demo. If like the question is not present in the knowledge base, how will the bot respond? And also
Yeah.
how exactly does AI work? Yeah.
So I mean, yeah, you can make the changes. These are like the some of the basic bots. AI need not be like something that understands everything. AI is like automating the things. I have said like it's more about automation and not we are not using most of the artificial intelligence here. So if you want, you can create there are advanced models like large language models which are more kind of AI. So these are just the automation tools, the Azure Bot Service and all. so you can integrate it with AI and make it more better. That's what you can do it. So this today we have discussed just a basic way of building a bot for your website or something.
Okay, I think that's it. I don't think we have enough time to go through technically, I don't
Questionnaire.
think we have enough time to go through, yeah, the knowledge check. So I think what I'll share is a link to the module that we were discussing today. So
Yeah.
the learn module, so that in case anyone wants to go back and learn more on the same and also do the exercise, they can go ahead and do the learn module. And then the other thing I'll add is the Cloud Skills Challenge. So this is for anyone who wants to continue the series, who wants to learn along the different things that we'll talk about, because this is not just a one-time session. We're doing a series on different areas. And then also a reminder of next Thursday session. So we'll have a session on Thursday, and the session will be around custom vision. So today we were talking about natural language processing, how you can build a bot and so on. But on Thursday, same time, we'll be talking about computer vision on Azure using Azure Custom Vision. And in that session, we'll have an MVP talk on that. So that's quite an interesting session to watch out for. But with that, thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much for the session. It's been very insightful. And with those, do you have anything else to add before I conclude the session?
Yeah, that's it. I guess it is. I hope things are cleared and some people have an idea of what Azure Bot Service is and how simple it is to create the Azure bot. And I want people to explore that. But I just want everyone to like this is the basic form of creating it. If you want, you have multiple things to add to it, and it will be like very interesting things. And Azure has got more services, and you can integrate those as is discussed speech, and we can integrate other audio files and all. So please explore it, and I hope you have enjoyed this session. And thank you for the opportunity.
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining. I hope you learned a lot. I did learn a lot on the creating a bot and how simple it is. The new interface is actually easier than the one we had before. So it's also nice learning about the different changes. And as I've said, next week we have a session on computer vision. So be sure not to miss that out. Otherwise, thank you and bye everyone. Have a good rest of your
Bye.
day. Bye bye.